As we kind of collide series here, this is Hform episode 2, which is say changing a habit or say reshaping it. So the habit we just had changed for 30 days at this point was removing calorie tracking, and specifically it was calories in and out. Now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and bring back calories in my advantage, which is gonna be what? Food scale tracking app. So as we bring those things back, I'm gonna do them a little bit differently. Maybe let's say a little bit less obsessive, a little bit, more to where I don't waste as much time. I used to use the tracking app a lot during the day, and I've decided to maybe kind of change that habit a little bit. And so when you're shifting a habit, you don't always have to say get rid of it forever or for a long term. This is one of those habits I just wanted to change for a little bit and change how I do it, because maybe it became, say, a little bit of too much of my time. I maybe didn't have a healthy relationship with how I was calorie tracking and seeing food. So I want to see if I can, say, reshape that habit. It's not a bad habit. It's just something that needs a little bit of work, I think, in order to be, say, balanced and for lifestyle, because we generally don't want to track calories for the rest of our life, as I've said in the past. So when you have, say, maybe a habit that you just want to change just a little bit or maybe reformulate it, that's kind of the way I see this. It's something that isn't a bad thing. I just needed to, say, shift my approach, shift my, say, behavior towards this. And that's what's most important when you're, say, maybe creating new habits that goes towards a lifestyle, is to catch some of these things. And so one of the things I noticed over years of doing food tracking is it became, say, more obsessive. I got a little more into it. And so in order to, say, balance that out, I decided to change my approach and my behavior on it and how I think about it. Now, what was hard is when I first removed it, because I had such a, say, I was doing it for years, day in and day out. So then what happens is as soon as you take it away, it's something that you missed. It's something that, hey, this part of my life is missing. So in order to, say, change that, the first thing I had to do is disassociate with, say, that use. And this applies to a lot of behaviors in general. It doesn't matter if it's, say, you have a bad habit of biting your nails, or another bad habit could say, maybe I spend too much time on the TV or too much time on my phone. Whatever it is, you can change those behaviors. And it's not that maybe you want to eliminate them, it's that you want to, say, change how you, say, use them or incorporate them into your life, or integrate them into your life is maybe a better way of putting it. If you want to see how I, say, change my approach with FitnessPal and the food scale and what this, say, new outlook and this new behavior I want is going to be, then go ahead and tune into the X series, because this is something I'm going to be showing and going over in detail of how I'm going to, say, reshift it, change my approach. I'm going to use, say, the steps. I'm going to make sure to set a goal, make sure that it's time-based or some sort of time element involved, and then I'm going to execute. And in order to, say, keep this habit going or shift this habit or behavior change, then I'm going to make sure, it's progressive, that I'm getting a little bit better, and then I'm not going in the wrong direction. And finally, I'm just going to stay committed with it. So because I'm doing this journey for so long, calorie tracking is something that I'm probably not going to get rid of permanently. It's just going to be in those windows, say, of maintenance or when I'm trying to lose weight. But when I'm gaining weight, I don't necessarily need FitnessPal, but I've used it just in order to see how much calories it takes for me to gain weight. Generally, when you're changing a behavior, you're going to have to think about some of these things in terms of how is it affecting your lifestyle? How does it affect your attitude? Is it something that is a good or a bad behavior? And by that, I mean, is it maybe healthy or unhealthy? Is it affecting those around you? And those are some of the questions to kind of consider before making the change, or why you need to make the change. And that brings up to my final point, which is the best question of all when you're doing any of these things, is to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this behavior? Why is it important? Why is it healthy? Why is it needed? And those are always kind of like, let's say that's the formulation of getting the insight to, say, change or start change or seeking change or understanding change. It's that underlying reason of how it fits you, and why is the most important question, I think. We'll just kind of go ahead and catch up on the recap. So day 8. So we're starting the second week, and so for me, I told you I was going to be changing another habit, and it's going to be opposite of what most of you are going to be doing. Still a little sick, so I'm not pushing it super hard, just because, I don't want to make this any worse. My immune system has to recover. Now, for this week, I'm going to be actually removing my calorie tracking and saying my food tracking, just because I've been doing this so long, and I went over 3 years doing it. So it was really more to learn about myself, but also, like I say in other videos, is to teach others, and you can't teach others unless you actually go through it yourself. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard to let go of that watch. I've been wearing it so long, and same thing with going into my food diary. So day 9, and generally what happens if you change too much, you kind of start getting, say, that grumpiness or that grouchiness, especially when you're doing like multiple habits at once. So for me, in my world right now, I did alcohol last week, now I'm carrying that to this week, and I also took away my calories out and my calories in. But if you were doing, say, new to dieting and nutrition, you would just pick, say, like just tracking calories this week, just adding one thing in, not trying to do, 3 different changes, and it's been 9 days. So I definitely feel that mentally it's tolling. There's parts of you that want to go back and revert. Some people will just push through and it'll be a negative experience. So what'll happen is they'll generally go back at some point. But for me, like I said, very intentional in this. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how this goes in general. Okay, here we are. It's day 10 and double digits. So that's something that's fairly good, in terms of progress. And because I'm not necessarily trying to lose weight or anything specific, that's a little bit easier. But, say that alcohol removal, it's a little bit more difficult, because that was something where if I'm having a rough day, it was something I could cope with. And so not having that kind of makes this a little bit harder. But the first couple of weeks are really about self-discipline and self-control. And so I know that, and that's the hardest part. I got to see that end, and you need to do the same thing. So if you made it to day 10 and you're doing really good, keep it up. If you're having a hard time and you're struggling, maybe peel back on this week a little bit and just stick with that first habit that you tried to change last week. Make sure you can get to the 14 days there first before taking on another one if you're struggling with that. This is day 12, and just so you know, it doesn't always go as planned. Surprisingly, I'm still getting headaches from, not having that after work, say, beer or that drink to just kind of calm down. Haven't been sleeping all that good, so really just trying to, I'm in survival mode. It's kind of one of the things when you're building habits, you just gotta stay the course and know that there's a bigger purpose in this. So as far as tracking calories, I still feel pretty naked without my calorie tracker, and I haven't been doing any walks. So that's kind of mentally challenging, but it's part of the game here for me. It's breaking that extreme habit, and something I'll bring in when I need it to my advantage. Day 13, and I went to a workout class this morning, and definitely a lot. My conditioning is terrible right now. It's nowhere where it was, but that's really not my goal right now. It's really to survive, this first 2 weeks with the many changes I've done. And if you're doing 2 weeks, just do one thing at a time. But one thing the workout did do for me today is it kind of substituted out, say, some of those negative feelings. Generally, working out makes me feel a little bit better. It was one of those things that encouraged me to keep going and just remember the goal at the task at hand. So that's pretty much it. So if you're kind of struggling, you can find a substitution. Go do something you like to do. It could be sports. For me, I'm not really dieting or trying to lose weight right now. So maybe it's eating something that you like. I mean, there's a number of things you could do. I think one of the hardest parts, though, was it was such a long streak, just giving it up. It was something that I had planned on doing a while back, and I never got around to it, but I guess this was a great opportunity to do it. And so there's some habits where we want to take them away for a short term, like say 30 days, just to say reshape them or fit them a little bit different into our life. And that's what I did with this. If I had only done it a week, I would have probably not, changed a whole lot and went back to, say, the older ways. But now I kind of have that opportunity to say, all right, what do I want to do different? And as I get leaner, I'll probably get a little more strict with it, just because it helps me be a little more dialed into my diet. But for right now, when I'm just seeking balance, I think this is something that is, say, very beneficial and a better way of doing it than I was doing it before. So we'll talk more about it with the scale and the Fitness Pal. If you tune into the Hform series, you'll see the way I'm going to be doing it. So this is day 28 of no calorie tracking, no watches, no Fitness Pal, no thinking about it, and taking away the obsession. And I gotta say, it gets a lot easier, especially working with other habits. I didn't focus as much on it, but it was something that I've been doing so long, and really just breaking streaks. There was a number of reasons why I needed to take this away for just a little bit. How hard was it to get rid of an obsession? Pretty difficult, actually, because it was something I thought about, and it took a lot of mental adjustments. Now, this wasn't one where I had so much, let's say, physical kind of constraints. It was really just letting go of that constant want or need to just, I gotta log this, or I gotta put this in, or I need this data, because I really don't at this point. So the hardest thing is to unlearn to use the food scale, unlearn to scan food, unlearn And so I'm kind of glad it's done. I got better at it, and I don't want to get too good at not tracking because I'm gonna need to do that. So it's not a habit I want to completely unlearn. It was just a way to take it away for 30 days, give myself some balance, learn a little bit of self-control in the process. And now I can bring it back in. And because all these theories kind of collide in some way and they're kind of overlapping, and the next couple weeks is very challenging because it's endless Hform and Xform all going at the same time. So this is kind of wild. It's a lot of recording and it's a lot of, say, editing, and hopefully get them released when I plan to. So that's kind of really the point here, is to make sure I just get this stuff out. And then once these get produced and rolled, then it'll get a lot easier once January starts, and I can focus a lot more on, say, the physique, the process, making sure I, cover the details. So that's gonna do it for this one. Till the next one. Take care, peace. The question that I rarely get asked when it comes to, say, all these videos and just in life in general is people asking, well, why are you doing this? And that's something that I've discussed in, say, the Endless series, and something that's part of my story. But if you tune into that, you can check that out.